everyone, it is me, GamePenguin21 today. Well, the internet has just blessed me with more content of this day. And there's a lot that we have to talk about. So, the main thing that we are going to be talking about today is the fact that the Steller Blade demo has come out, and people are upset about it. For various reasons. The one main reason is, of course, because the main character is conventionally very attractive. Now, of course, obviously, attraction, preferences, and stuff is very subjective, extremely suggestive. But one of, if not the biggest problems that a lot of people have with this is that she is, well, very attractive. But some people find that offensive because it's, not representative of what people look like. Even though, 1, this is a video game, 2, this is also a technical form of art, and 3, it was based on a real person. So, yeah. Anyway, but with that being said, shield time, 1K subscriber by the end of the year, please, thank you, please subscribe. I do like it. I know you're getting a little bit annoyed about that, but yeah. I do stream on the weekends, twitch.tv/GamePenguin21, and I do make music. All links down in the description below. Please, thank you, and I love you all. But let's get started with this, because I know you want more of the salt stuff. Now, we're going to actually start this off with a very interesting one that I found, which is about Nicola. Now, Nicola is someone I've covered on this channel a little bit, but he bought the game and decided to get the demo and went out to play it. But we have this tweet saying, so get this is amazing. Like I said yesterday, I wanted to cancel my pre-order of Stellar Blade to get the deluxe edition instead because I liked it that much. Apparently, downloading the demo made me ineligible for the refund, Lamau, with a correlation here about him playing the game and him wanting to, get the full game but get the more expensive version. And let me just say, bragging, I don't think that he's bragging about this. I think that he's just finding this kind of funny, but pointing out the fact that you can't even refund a demo or a pre-order to buy a better edition on PlayStation is not a W, alright? And it's just still in my brain is hilarious to me, because I know for a fact that I have been able to refund pre-orders and stuff in the past. I refunded, famously, Starfield, not because I didn't like it. I did actually want to buy it officially, but someone else was like, no, I'll buy you the more expensive version, but I need you to refund it. And I was able to get my $60 back. However, apparently, because you played the demo, that's unfortunate. I don't know, it just seems really weird to me. But weirdness aside, let's take a look at some very, interesting tweets here. So Alucard starts out with, every day I lose interest in this game as I find people are doing a sex doll simulator with $900 billion gigaphysics production. And I know that that's a hyperbolic statement, but dude, if you are losing interest in the game because of other people's attraction to a fake video game character, you might want to rethink yourself a little bit. Just a wee tiny bit. Just saying, dude. Next up, we've got Judas here with a not hating on the physics, but it would be nice to see posts of people actually playing the game with 2 hands below up. I don't know if she meant 2 hands below, up, above, or whatever, but that doesn't make any sense to me. Again, you just need to look. And, if you're seeing this on your timeline, maybe don't engage with it or retweet it. And they're both retweeting this specific tweet here. There's a few of them out there. I'm probably going to throw a censor across the screen just to be on the safe side, but just know it is a very nice round buttocks. So, and it was also a clip and stuff. Next up, we've got 2 years long Mike, which was another one that sent me down this little bit of a rabbit hole. saying the only thing I see about this game is just jiggle physics. Man, there is not any gameplay, even though technically speaking this is gameplay, but you know what else is there? Actual gameplay that people have been posting as well. You just gotta find it, and it's very easy to find it. I mean, you can probably look up the entire demo on YouTube if you really want to look at the game itself. There's a little bit of a thing called there. Someone else then decided to retweet the same clip here with a Just watch Corn, you weirdo. I'm not going to actually say the name of that because, obviously. And again, I find it really funny how this is to be said by bisexual babe, or the bisexual babe. I don't know what that says. I just find it really funny how they have all these amazing flags in there, and they're supposed to be very representative. Yet, when it comes to conventionally attractive women, they're not. Plus, again, this person's just showing it off because it's also like engagement farming for more or less the same thing. Same tweet here with an out-of-context Simpsons couch gag, which go back to your gimmick, I guess, saying, is there anything to show about this game than just how sexy the females look? Because that's all I've seen from those who post about this game. And there is. There's no joke. That's just true. Like, there is actually stuff to talk about with this game. You're just not looking in the right area. Then we've got Oda Nami here with the I play for the gameplay. The gameplay in question. Gamers won this battle handily. Story doesn't even matter at this point. The fact she exists is a middle finger to all AAA developers. Now, I half disagree with this. I don't think it's a middle finger to all AAA developers, as Stellar Blade in and of itself is technically speaking a AAA developed game. However, I will agree with the fact that this is a middle finger to most Western game developers, at least in terms of what people are doing this as. Now, to break down what I mean, it's basically the same sort of situation that the developers of Kingdom Come Deliverance, if you remember that game, came back to that sort of thing. And they basically said, oh, we are not allowing you to customize to make your thing female because that wouldn't work with the world and the story that we're building. And because they wanted to make it realistic. Now, obviously, yes, some people are like, oh, well, you could just have unrealistic standards. Yes, but if your art, your specific art that you're making, is supposed to be realistic, and you want to adhere to a specific realism standard, that's your choice. It's the same thing here. They want to adhere to a specific standard that they wanted to make the main character beautiful because it works with how the story and the everything is written. It's art. It's very interpretive. And again, I agree. I usually side with the developers if they want to make the art that they're making. Even if they don't want to make the art that they're making, like how Redfall came out, and the developers like, we wanted Microsoft to cancel it. And I look at the game and I'm like, yeah, that game should have been canceled. I agree, usually on the side of the artist or the creator of the media of which I'm consuming. Usually. There's sometimes when I don't, but that really depends. Next up, we've got Valentina Kikir. There's a point where something is so absurdly sexualized it just becomes sexless. What is this other than Gooner bait? Unless there's some commentary about this in the game, the presentation I'm seeing is the most sexualized, non-erotic shit I've seen in a while. And if that's the case, then what's the problem here? Like, what is your problem? Is it that it is too sexualized, or is it that it's so sexualized that it comes back around to being not sexualized? Like, is that a problem? Is it a good thing? Like, is it a bad thing? I don't know, because this makes no sense, your argument. You're saying that it's basically looking like a Ken doll, I guess, or like a Barbie doll? So what? They're not that sexualized. And even still, I think that Barbie is a very positive sex symbol. Even in terms of before the movie. I didn't like Barbie growing up, I just, Anyway, next up is a Have You Seen with y'all really need tangible women in your life. This obsession with virtual, intangible characters ain't healthy. Which, I'll be honest, in some cases, in very specific cases, possibly. But you have never seen anime culture if you're making this comment, by the way. It's just not possible. Just gonna leave it at that. Next up, we got Iron Maiden, Arc Hobbyist or something, with the gameplay is mid. Nobody knows what the story is about. The only thing keeping this relevant is hot character anti-woke. Bet $20 that everyone will forget this game existed like a week after its release. And I don't know, maybe not. The thing with this is that, like, again, the reason that it's getting a lot of traction is because of the defiantness, definitely, of the general notion of which we've been served for a while. And I don't think that that's necessarily the developers' fault. The developers have a plan, they have an idea, they have a set vision that they want this game to be. But that's not necessarily means that they're, quote, anti-woke because they have a hot main character. You know who else had a hot main character? The Tomb Raider series. Yeah, even the remake series had very interesting and nice, hot Lara Croft. Yes, absolutely. And some people will be like, oh, well, she's like a specific age, or she's younger, or whatever. Like, okay, sure. But she was still very conventionally attractive to a lot of people in the trilogy that she was in the modern trilogy too, as well as in the trilogy back in the day, because we didn't see that sort of stuff before this. It's funny to me how you can look at that stuff. If you want more modern examples, by the way, there's Bayonetta, and then there's also 2B, both of which conventionally attractive women in video games, yet there was nothing that has to do with any of them being this much of a backlash, hence why this is kind of an anomaly and interesting. Next up, we've got Cinematic Goodness with this game has become a way of testing people's mentality. If they look at this game specifically at the character and say, this is exactly what the gaming industry needs more of, or something to that extent, it just tells me that you only lock in when boobs and ass are present, shallow and pathetic. And that's not necessarily true. And to some people, I think that that's kind of true, saying that the aesthetic of the main character is important and is good, and that is something that the industry needs more of, is more conventionally attractive women. At least that's what other people say. I'm not saying that. What I will say, though, is that if you like the game for the aesthetics and you stay for the gameplay, that's kind of good marketing. For me, I'm more of a gameplay person, and I think that the gaming industry needs more of a well-polished, well-rounded gameplay loop and experience. One of the gameplays that I recently reviewed again, which is important because I review games on this channel, was The Finals. The Finals Season 2, 100%. I decided to make that because I really like that game. It is just such a good game, gameplay-wise, and the main characters look pretty kind of mid. And I don't really care. I don't care. It's not important to me how good the main characters look in this context. It is important to me how fun and entertaining the actual gameplay is. If you look at this game, you see the attractive main character, you want to go and play that game because of it, but then you stay because of the gameplay and story, that's fine. Also, to the guy who complained about the gameplay and story, the game is not out yet, and there was a demo that was only released, which was probably an hour or something like that. So, yeah. Anyway, next up, we've got the aristocratic utensil with, I want to point something out. Dear ugly, miserable, POS-hated leftists, your demented hatred of everything sane has resulted in something this mundane getting this much attention. If any of you ever scoff at this shit, you are responsible for this reaction. Fuck off. Now, I think that I agree with this, at least to an extent. I don't think that I would use that specific language, because that's very insultive language, but I do think that the push for more representation in something kind of has the opposite effect. That's the problem here. Most people, when they talk about this in the whole SBI situation, is most definitely because of the fact that it's the forcing of it that's the problem. It's not the fact that it exists, because everyone knows that it exists, and everyone enjoys that it exists and has a representation of interestingness. But at the same time, the push and the trying to force it into a box is what gets it the problem. To kind of quote Syndrome here, when everyone is super, no one will be. Now, that quote has a bunch of different meanings if you kind of break it down philosophically. The main meaning is when everyone is this amazing, super beautiful thing, that means that they're all still normal, because that new superpower becomes the norm. That's just how it is. Same thing when you represent everyone, no one really is represented, because yes, certainly, there is a ton of people out there that are gay, trans, bisexual, non-binary, women, men, all sorts of people, all sorts of walks of life. But when you try to represent everyone, you tend to not represent everyone, if that makes sense. And that's not the worst thing. I mean, again, sometimes an offensive stereotype should be pointed out and should be corrected. Absolutely, I'm not questioning that. But at the same time, if you try to turn a character from one thing to another thing without, rewriting the whole story, or basically just completely and utterly fucking over the entirety of the actual story and gameplay loop or whatever, at least in terms of art, that's kind of a bad thing, at least in my opinion. It's very hard to also change characters when you know what you're doing here. Next up, we've got Gandalf Gaming with reviews of Stellar Blades R and Ponies Are Crying, and another PS5 flop to add to the collection. Hopefully 2025 will be better year for them. And I find this funny because, yeah, this is an Xbox guy, and I will smack him because I do think that that's stupid, and a lot of people are actually enjoying the game. But he also quotes an IGN article. And this IGN article, you might be a little hard up to see here, but the basics of this paragraph that he excerpts out here is that it's not a new concept. It's other games have highlights the strengths of female characters in more iconic character designs, such as 2B from Nier Automata, or Steller, or I think they also bring up Bayonetta in this. Again, you can read it in your own time, but the basic premise is that it's the Stellar Blade is a sexualized doll of a woman, whereas Nier Automata and Bayonetta are not, which, again, I find very interesting. It just makes no sense to me. I don't know. And again, I just find it really funny how, it's a bad review, yet points it out for IGN, who most likely has a hate boner for this thing, so wouldn't trust that. Next up here, we've got Archangel with the man went from Starfield main menu to this insane pipeline with quoting from Grums, of all people. Now, again, I've talked about Grums a little bit in the past, mainly with the whole Starfield main menu situation, and I still do agree that the main menu does not necessarily reflect the actual gameplay, because sometimes you can have a very simple main menu, but you can have all sorts of amazing beautifulness to it, or you can have a very complex main menu and have a very different game that kinda sucks. But Grums, in this context, I tend to agree with, or at least I think that he has a more base take in this context. And yeah, absolutely, what he says here is a little bit sexist. Yes, absolutely. It's very sexist now that I'm reading it. But overall, the thing is that they are, technically speaking, the people who are pushing for these things are actually being a lot more sexist and a lot more racist than people give them credit for. And again, I know that I'm probably saying these sorts of things, but again, overall, what Grums is saying here is that the representation seems to have gotten a little bit out of hand. And again, whether or not I agree, maybe a little bit. But again, I think it's more of the forced representation that I disagree with. Next up, we've got a very interesting take from Harmon Smith with an Eve from Stellar Blade is confirmed trans. Way to go, Korea. You tricked a bunch of gamers into lusting after a transgender woman. And I think that I don't even need to make a joke about this, because Spectre already did make a joke about this, saying, first of all, where do you have any proof of that? And second of all, do you think that's going to stop people Lamau? I don't even need, again, another person who just does my job for me. I got nothing, Chief. You got me in a box here. Absolutely fucking got dunked on. Next up, we've got Panda Bread saying, people liking attractive virtual women is a crime. And they are, quote, retweeting and talking about this person called JWM Boys with a, if you play this game like this, you're just a weirdo. You should check their hard drives checked. oh, you're just a weirdo who should have their hard drives checked. And they're talking about the climbing animation and all like the physics and the jiggles and the stuff. And let me be clear on this. Number one, playing the game like how it is presented in the actual clip and in the actual thing is that that person is actually playing on the harder of the two difficulties, and you do get less clothing because you get less of a shield and stuff. And that's, if you want to play like that and you want to play like Dark Souls, that's fine. But I think what he means more is that if you play the game just to look at the really cool, hot main character, like, you should just have your hard drive checked because why? I mean, again, if you're making a reference to what I think you're making a reference to, which is not appropriate and not something I can say here on YouTube, despite all that I have said on YouTube right now, no. Like, just straight up fucking no. That's not how this works. It's not, no. But yeah. I just find it interesting how this also happens as well. And to go back to that JW Boys one, I found another one here, which is the same one, but he also then responds with, every Stellar Blade pre-order comes with a free copy of this game, and it's Epstein. Which, he is making a reference to that. Yikes. No. Just get some help, dude. Now, we have an interesting take here from David Jaffe, who says this. 1, the demo is great. 2, demo is great, very excited for the final. 2, tacky, hotter than Eve. I mean, that's just more of an opinion, but, I mean, we'll move past that. And 3 is, Jesus, how hard up are you people? And I'm 52, and the T levels ain't as what they used to be, but you know there's free porn all over the internet, and if there's enough, there's actual women out there. And again, I fully agree and understand where these people are coming from, because yeah, absolutely, if you have a preference for not as hot women, or you have a preference for not as aesthetically attractive women, as you may or may not like them, that's not the point. The biggest point right here, right now, is the fact that this game is just getting a lot of attention because it's breaking the normalities, or the semi-real normalities, that these gaming companies and these Western AAA developers specifically have been pushing for a while. And again, this is where things like counterculture usually tend to come into play. And I'm not saying that either is wrong or either is right. I'm saying the following. If you like this game because you are liking the aesthetics of the main character, that's fine. If you like this game because of the gameplay, that's fine. If you don't like this game because it doesn't align specifically with your values as to how you view a game, that's kind of dumb. Same thing with the other ones as well. It's dumb, yes, absolutely, but that doesn't make it wrong. It's both dumb and stupid to like a game based solely on the main character being attractive. It's very much a truth. But, except for the gameplay one is completely valid if you like it because of the gameplay. Like, it's a video game. Obviously, if the gameplay sucked, it would be bad. But, again, to come to this conclusion, the game should be taken down because it doesn't have a convention, because it doesn't have representation of all women, or because the actual woman is sexualized to a specifically ridiculous degree, even though she was body scanned, and even though that body type is a real woman, right? Who cares? Like, who cares? And who should care about other person's sexual preference? It's just my thought for that. Anyway, I think that I've talked your ear off enough about this. I don't really like talking about this because I have friends on both sides who both agree and disagree with me, and if they found this video, they'd probably disown me for life. But, you know, honestly, I had nothing else to really talk about, and this one was just an interesting topic to kind of look at and give my opinion on. In any case, I think that'll about do it. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, 1K subscribers by the end of the year. Would really appreciate it. We're really close to 900, and that would be really cool. Number 2, I make music as well. Links to the Bandcamp down in the description. It's 3, most weekends, check the twitch.tv/GamePango21. I play music and stuff over there as well, so maybe you'll hear some stuff. With all that being said, thank you very so much for watching, and a peace off.